If you're using tags instead of custom fields, then your Asana setup could slowly be breaking. And if you're using custom fields when a simple tag would do, then you're overcomplicating things. A few years ago, I made a video all about Asana tags, and by the way, this was in 2021, hence the awful COVID hair. But since then, Asana has evolved, custom fields are more powerful, automation has got better, and there are now more specific use cases for when you should and shouldn't use tags. So let's get into it. So first of all, what are tags? Well, the best way to think of them is they are like global labels that you can apply to any task anywhere in your Asana account. So here I am in this project, Rocket Lab. If I click and expand to open one of these tasks, from the task menu, I can add a tag, or I can use the keyboard shortcut Tab T, and then I can search for a tag or just apply one here called urgent. I've only applied that tag to this one specific task, and I don't have to recreate that tag to use it again in a different project. So if I go to McLaren Racing here, click on a different task, Tab T, again, I can add that tag straight away. I don't need to recreate that tag for using again in this project like I would with a custom field. Whereas if I contrast that with custom fields, in this project we have this status field, and you can see every single task has a status. If I open the task, you can see we have this status field here. Go to a different task. Status is always showing on every single task because we've added that field to this specific project. Whereas the tag, you can see tags are visible if there has been a tag applied to a task. If I go onto a different one, there's nothing showing, there's no tags necessarily appearing because I haven't added a tag. If I go to a different project, you can see this project does not have that status field. And if I wanted to add that custom field to this project, I would need to do that again from the field menu, and I'd have to set up my custom field from scratch. And by the way, if you're new to custom fields, we have a related video which we will link up here that explains how to get started using custom fields. And by the way, if you've been watching videos and you're just thinking, oh, I'd love to have someone just help me with all this in person, then book an introductory call with us using the link in the description. We'd love to meet you and come up with a plan to help you get more out of Asana and improve the efficiency of your team. To create a new tag is really simple. If I Tab T and start typing, if I type the name of a tag that does not exist yet, I can simply create the tag for this one here, weekly meeting. I can give it a color, and then if I click on the tag itself, I go to the tag page. This shows me every single task in the account that has that tag. I could even click the star up here, add it to my starred items, that way I can quickly access all tasks with that tag. And if I'm done with it, I can delete the tag if I no longer want to use this any longer. So think of tags as lightweight, optional metadata that you can add to any task in your account. A good example is that urgent tag you saw me use there. I might want to tag something as urgent as a way of highlighting, stop what you're doing, work on this task, we need to get this done immediately. I don't want to use a custom field for that because I don't want that urgent field appearing on every task in my project, but I can use a tag or optional label to tag any tasks that I think are urgent. Or the weekly meeting one you saw, also a good example. I could tag tasks that we want to discuss in our weekly meeting. Again, I don't really want to use a custom field to show what tasks we want to talk about. I'm just going to apply that tag or label to the specific tasks we want to discuss in our meeting. Now let me clarify a little bit better when to use a custom field versus a tag. There are a few situations where you are absolutely always going to want to use custom fields. Firstly, if you want that field or information to appear on every single task in a project, like this status field here, we always want to know the status of the task. It's not an optional thing we might want to see, like this urgent tag. We always want to see, is the task being planned, to do, in progress, in danger, waiting, and so on. We want it to appear on every task, number one. Number two, if you're going to use the information for reporting, for example, again with status, I can show incomplete tasks by status to see how many are to do, in progress, in danger, and so on. So reporting is a key situation you will want to use custom fields. And the third is you can use custom fields to trigger rules. If I go to my Customize menu here, Under rules, here's an example where when a status has been set to waiting for approval, a comment is added for me to check that task. If I were to create a new trigger, you can actually see there's no option to trigger a rule from a tag being added. It's just not something we can do at the moment anyway in Asana. And a fourth situation is if you want to enforce consistency and have really good governance and data capture in Asana. For example, in this design requests project, we have some fields here for capturing client name, email, tracking time, request type. I want to make sure we are always capturing these details. So by having the field exist, if I click on a task that doesn't have the information filled in, a recipient receiving this task is kind of being prompted. They're sort of thinking, oh, look, that information's blank. So it's a good way of prompting people, look, we need to fill in these details. We want to be consistent, capture all the key information in one place. The custom fields are a really clean way to do that. So any of those situations, you are going to want to opt for a custom field over a tag. Whereas you are going to want to lean more towards using a tag when you're adding almost like ad hoc temporary extra metadata to a task. And again, the key thing here is you do not want that to appear on every task in the project. So I might tag something as urgent. Again, stop what you're doing. We need to work on this before anything else. Weekly meeting. Let's discuss this in our weekly meeting. I don't need to have a custom field on every task in the project to highlight those. Or this is another one that I've recommended to quite a few of our clients, hard deadline. When we have a due date on the task, like this Friday, this is a hard deadline. We must not miss this deadline, otherwise it's going to have a negative cascading effect for the rest of the project. In each of those scenarios, I wouldn't want to have to create a custom field for hard deadline, which appears on every task. It's much cleaner and much simpler to just simply have a tag that I can add to the specific tasks that need it. And one final situation you're going to want to use tags is if you are integrating extra software like Zapier. Zapier is an automation tool we've used with many of our clients to automate workflows and connect Asana with other systems. And if we look at the triggers here, triggers are things that happen in Asana that can trigger an automation. And one of them here is when a tag is added to a task. So we can use tagging a task as a way to kick off a Zapier workflow to push information into a different tool. We don't have that option with custom fields. Now, let me wrap up by highlighting a few situations in which tags can create a bit of chaos in your account and some common mistakes to avoid. We've worked with hundreds of businesses to help them implement Asana, and we've seen the same things come up time and time again, so watch out for these mistakes. First is it's very easy to create duplicate tags, and that's going to create a whole lot of chaos and mess simply by using different case sensitivity. So I have my urgent tag with a capital U, but if I type urgent with a small u and hit return, you see I've now created a second urgent tag, which is completely different. So now I'm going to have tasks spread out across the two tags. It's going to be harder to find them. So make sure you are using the correct naming convention so that you're not creating unnecessary tags. And for that very reason, do not use tags as part of a workflow. What I mean by that is either, if I go back to my design requests here, either for capturing information, tags are not a suitable way of enforcing consistency or capturing information. Or in my Rocket Lab project, if I have rules for things like, when we're waiting for approval, adding a comment, we would not want to, and actually we can't, trigger those kinds of automations using tags. Because when you add a tag to a task, if I add a tag here, you can see all the optional tags. It's one big list. You wouldn't want to trigger a workflow or have your workflows be conditional on adding the correct tag because it's kind of just a big unorganized list of labels. So building workflows is much better done using custom fields. If you have any questions about tags versus custom fields in Asana, then post a comment down below. I respond to every single one. Thank you very much for watching. See you in the next video.